A Modern Life is the brand new album from Low Moon, and I'm so happy to have Matt from the band join us. Dude, how are you? Thank you for your time.
Good, thanks. How are you? Of course.
Yeah, pretty good. It's a lovely day here in San Francisco, and you have this new music that you just released. How are you and the band feeling about it?
We're feeling good, excited as I guess, and nervous, but mostly excited.
Yeah, I'm going to just jump right into it because you guys have created this album that I think encapsulates a lot of the feelings people have been going through over the last 2 years, a lot of self-reflection, analysis, and those kind of things. And I'm very curious, when did this thought process of creating this music come into fruition?
I started writing the album around 2018, September to September, October 2018 was when we started recording, and so over 2018, before that, before September, October, that's kind of when the most of the writing occurred. We had been on the road for 2 years straight, and honestly, they always say like you have a ton of time to make the first record and second record, yeah. And it's so true. I mean, we just came off the road, and I was like, oh wow, right, we got to make the next record now. Feverishly started writing for the next record in 2018.
Crazy. And the fact that, like I just mentioned, that you really encapsulated a lot of the feelings people have been going through, you were already ahead of the curve, so to speak.
Oh God, it's really bizarre. I mean, sometimes I listen to somebody, will reach out and say, "Wow, is this a pandemic record?" No, it's not a pandemic record, which is very, I don't know what that's all about, but maybe that's because what happened during the last 2 years. I think all of us needed reflection, so
Yeah.
that reflection that I was doing on my own personal life maybe came out, in the last 2 years. I think it's felt like it's been heightened.
So themes of nostalgia, themes of not being good enough or trying to find satisfaction for where you are in life, being good enough for yourself to be able to be happy is kind of the overarching theme of many of the songs on here. Was the expectations and the things that you guys were going through after the success of Loveless kind of the catalyst for this thought?
Yeah, and the expectation I had put on myself for the rest of the record, the first record. I do think it was a response to the way I was feeling when I came off the road in 2018 and said, okay, that album's done, and you put all your heart and soul into this album, and maybe we thought it could have done X, Y, and Z or reached more people. And then you start feeling, well, really grateful for the fact that it reached anybody. And I started realizing that those thoughts were something that I was projecting onto myself, like this was something that I was dealing with, that my expectation of myself was maybe too large, or I had to think about life slightly differently. And I just, what started to really shape the album was this idea that you start in this idyllic place. And I think Loveless is a great example. It was like, I wasn't thinking about what could happen with that song. It was a demo I wrote in my basement with a friend, and it's pure, and it's just, and you put it out into the world. And then all of a sudden you're through the first record and you're like, oh wow, you have to get back to that place of having this purity about making records or music.
Which is a very difficult thing to do.
Extremely difficult. And Dream Never Dies was the first song that I felt like we were reflecting on this idea about, there was the idea that the world around us wasn't idyllic. It will never be. And trying to find hope in what is modern life, and for me, I started reflecting on just larger questions, becoming a bit older, thinking about being afraid of losing my parents, or even loved ones. I mean, and what it was like to be young and just have that carefree mentality towards life. And I just felt like there was something. I was just, as I get older, I'm just like, so anxious all the time. So, and Dream Never Dies was the first song I realized that just stay hopeful. Reminder, I think a lot of these songs are just reminders to myself.
It's certainly something that comes with age, wisdom, experience, right? And I see a lot of younger artists today exploding on TikTok, getting viral, all these things. Now, all of a sudden, expectations, they get signed to a big label, et cetera, et cetera. I see a lot of that in some of the songs, on the surface, like Eyes on the Prize, Expectations, Stop. Where did you start with the themes of the album?
um, I mean, Expectations was the first song that I wrote that I felt comfortable bringing to the band for this album, and I just remember feeling like it was the first song that had an emotional arc to it that I felt like they could resonate with as well. And I brought, and I think when I had Expectations, there was a thought that maybe that's what this album is about. I didn't go into the album thinking this is exactly what this album is about, but I realized I kept writing these songs that were just hope the dream never dies. When I was 16, I had such big dreams, but I got let down expectations. And I was like, oh man, this is yeah, I guess this is what happens when sometimes you don't know where it comes from. It's cerebral and it just enters your world and you're like, oh, this is the catharsis. This is the cathartic part about being an artist. Like, yeah, I'm just connecting with the music and I love doing this. Is the music industry something that you want to pay attention to when you're making art, or no? It'll drive you absolutely mad. Like you said, I mean, where the industry is discovering art is already flawed. It's already flawed. They're already looking in places where it's virality and it's not longevity. And not to say that there's some brilliant artists on TikTok and young and honestly, what's really interesting is the young culture of artists that you see on TikTok are sitting there on their acoustic guitar just writing songs. So,
Right.
and that to me is exciting. But then when you get the machine behind that, that's when it becomes a bit gross, But if you sit on TikTok or you see what's going on there, a lot of it is just people on their acoustic guitar writing these songs that, and I think it's coming from the same place, I hope, of where we all start from. This is pure. So you're right about the music industry. I don't know. I mean, that's where they're looking and then they're going, now you need X, Y, and Z. We got to hit X, Y, and Z. The data is not showing that. And you're like, yeah, but a month and a half ago, I was just sitting in my bedroom. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of backwards.
Well, and what's really curious is that because the music that resonates are the ones that are most vulnerable, right? And so you hit the nail on the head in which that these are just, people that are in their bedrooms and they just turn on their camera and they're going live and they're just strumming along and they're like, hey, what do you think to
Exactly.
to the strangers?
Exactly. And the stranger are going, wow, right? They're going, love this.
Yeah.
Love this. They're not doing it any other. They're not like thinking about it any other way.
How dangerous, or I guess, what are your thoughts on the fact that when artists tap into that vulnerable side and they're talking about their mental health, their anxiety and fears and those kind of things, they become popular, get viral and so forth. And now all of a sudden they have to dig into that pain, into those uneasy feelings again, especially
Mm-hmm.
as a young person. As an artist, of your caliber and your experience, how do you view that, and how does one handle that?
It's so hard. I don't have the answer for that really. Besides the thing that I've found that helps constantly, especially when I get anxious about thinking about a lot of these anxieties probably come from the music industry itself, right? Like that's what they're projected onto these artists or onto us as artists. And I found that the most important thing is to just connect with the music that you're making and go kind of deeper, go deeper in that world. Just keep doing that thing. And trying as hard as possible to put blinders on and just and find your people and find, and honestly, I think too, a lot of it is there's a really great community of artists that are there. I mean, I've had this too with artists that I look up to that have come into my periphery that have kind of helped me stay focused, but also given me the hope that this is possible, and that it's about finding that artistic community. If you stay close to that, I think then you can develop within a place of a nurturing system,
Right.
But I think the industry side of the music business is probably not as nurturing, I mean, as it should be. And I think we do need to do more about paying attention to that.
Well, congratulations on this release. It's
Thank
been a long time coming.
Oh my God, I know.
4 years.
4 years. I know. I try not to think about it.
Great to chat with you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.